Our story begins with a boy who is climbing onto the last carriage of a train. It seems as if he is waiting for the train because he works here and today his holidays have started. So now he is going back home. He does have money to buy a ticket, but he does not want to buy one because he does this every time. Whenever the train starts moving, he runs behind it and sits in the last compartment because he knows that the ticket collector does not come there. In this way, he saves the money for a ticket every time. Friends, since he is a car mechanic, he does not get much time to rest at work. He mostly keeps working, so he has become very tired. He falls asleep right there. His home is very far from here, but he stays extremely busy at work and gets very little time to sleep. So he falls into a deep sleep. In this way, the journey passes without him even realizing it, and he remains fast asleep. By the time his city arrives, the train is passing right through the middle of his city because he did not buy a ticket. And the ticket collector also does not know that a person is traveling in the last compartment because mostly people do not sit in the last compartment. So the ticket collector does not go there. In the same way, he keeps traveling and the train passes through his city and reaches the middle of the desert. Since he is still asleep, from this it can be guessed how far ahead he has come. When he finally wakes up, he is still half asleep. He looks outside, but even then he cannot understand anything. He still thinks that maybe his city will arrive soon. Then he stands up and comes near the door. As soon as he reaches the door and looks outside, he suddenly becomes frightened. Without thinking about anything, he jumps off the train. After jumping, he thinks for a while and then starts walking in the opposite direction because he knows that if he keeps following the railway track, he will eventually reach his city. So friends, as he keeps moving forward like this, he slowly begins to realize that he has made a very big mistake. In reality, he himself did not want to do this. But he had panicked suddenly, which is why he jumped off the train in a hurry. Now he starts to realize that he did has completely wrong, yet the continues his journey and keeps moving forward. In fact, he has never traveled in a desert before, so he has no idea how dangerous sandstorm can be. That is why he takes them lightly. But as he keeps moving forward, he slowly begins to understand how dangerous the situation really is, and in this way he becomes completely lost. And when he wakes up, he finds himself buried in the sand. At first, he has no idea where he is lying because he is not fully conscious. When his eyes finally open, he becomes extremely distressed and begins to realize where he is. First, he goes to the highest spot he can find and starts looking around in all directions so that he can figure out which direction he should go. But he cannot understand anything at all. Eventually, he becomes hopeless. He was already trapped, and now he also realizes that he no longer knows which direction to take. Finally, he sits down there feeling depressed and heartbroken. His eyes fill with tears as he starts remembering his home. Back home, he has two sisters whose marriage he is responsible for. That is why he works day and night, saving money so that he can get them married and support his mother. Now thinking about his family, he becomes deeply worried. Meanwhile, some dogs notice him for a distance and start chasing him. He had become so brave by now that the dogs could not overpower him. Then he strikes with a knife and kills one of the dogs while the other runs away in fear. Now he has at least something to eat, enough to survive. He does not take a big piece of meat because he knows that if he takes a large piece, the extra weight will prevent him from traveling far. He thought to himself, no matter what, I have to get out of here, even if not for myself, at least for my family. I must keep moving and get out of this place. In this way, he continues his journey. Eventually, exhaustion from thirst causes him to collapse. He had not water for a long time. His lips were drying and his body was losing energy. He knew he could not keep going much longer. Then he noticed a tree in the distance and feels a little relieved. He knows that under the tree there might be some source of water, so he pushed forward, moving continuously toward it. When he reaches, he finds a well. Before looking inside, he prays to God, "Oh God, please let there be water in it so that I can drink. I am extremely hungry and thirsty." When he looks inside, there is indeed water. He pulls the bucket tied to the rope to get the water out. It is a bit difficult, but he quickly manages to bring the water out, drinks it, and thanks God. Afterward, he rests there and spends the night at the spot. Around midnight, he suddenly wakes up because he feels very cold. He takes out of his lighter, lights a fire, and feels somewhat relieved seeing the flames. He knows that without the fire, he would have had to endure extremely cold. He sits by the fire, gaining some energy, and eventually falls asleep again. In place like this, the daytime is extremely hot, but at night the temperature drops sharply because it is an open field. Morning comes and he resumes his journey, moving forward. He had slept through the night and eaten well, since he had the piece of meat he had obtained from the dog. With no hunger or thirst, his body had regained energy. This is why he continues walking steadily, pushing onward without stopping. Since his journey was progressing rapidly and seemed never ending, he grew very tired quickly. Whenever he felt extremely fatigued, he thought about his family, which gave him courage and motivation to keep moving forward. This thought kept him going and he continued pressing onward. One day, when he looks down at the ground, he becomes happy because he realizes that is gold. Then, looking into the distance, he notices a man approaching, riding a camel, but before the man on the camel reaches him, he starts moving toward the location on his own. Because he knows that if the camel rider arrives there, he will discover that there is a gold stone. He does not want the man to find out, so he moves towards him, planning to come up with an excuse if the man questions him. When the man asked him to go with him, he made a false excuse, saying that he was waiting for someone. After that, the man on the camel starts leaving the area. He stands there watching him carefully, making sure the man goes far away. And after waiting for a while, he begins to walk and starts heading toward the goldstone. When he reaches the goldstone, he stops and keeps looking at it. He thinks to himself, how will I take such a huge stone with me? He pushes it and tries to lift it a little, pushes it again and keeps testing different ways to move it. In reality, the stone is extremely large and moving it requires a lot of energy. Very soon his condition begins to worsen, hunger and thirst return, and his body's energy starts to drain. He tries every possible trick to somehow take the goldstone from there, but every time he faces notice but failure. Meanwhile, his body grows weaker and weaker. Finally, he sits down, leaning against a stone, and starts thinking. He thinks about his family and then tells himself that at least he must get out of here alive, otherwise, what will happen to his family? With this thought, he tries to continue his journey. But by now, it is already too late. There is not enough strength left in his body to move forward. He collapses and then thinks that at the very least, he should have informed the camel rider earlier. So, friends, what do you think? Should he have asked the man on the camel for help or not? Be sure to tell in the comment section. And in this way, the last breaths leave his body. In that desert, there is no one to witness what happened to him. Soon vultures arrive and begin to tear at his body. Somewhere, someone is waiting for him. Someone's son, someone's brother, but they do not know the condition he is in. In the end, his greed takes his life.